Hi everybody, welcome to Quarantine Parenting. Thanks for being here, thanks for being with me. If you're joining me for the first time, my name is Dr. Courtney Pegram and I'm an educational consultant. My expertise is dealing with emotions, managing emotions, training on emotions, and I do a wide variety of training from bullying prevention, harassment training, and then sexual harassment training for corporate. I have a ton of training experience, but this video is not to talk to you about all the things I do, but it's to better serve you. So I started this channel to give you some resources, and also for me, because by me prepping for these videos daily, it gives me insights on the things that I train about, but I often forget. So these videos are meant for us to pull the stuff that we need and use them. Most of the stuff that I talk about we can use on ourselves and we can use on our children. Working remotely and homeschooling has been extremely difficult for me. I'm not gonna lie, I've struggled. I have a great amount of, I'd say, organizational skills, but even that, with the daily chaos, it's sometimes my schedule is either overflowing, I'm behind, I'm forward, it's not doing enough, I mean, you name it. So that builds a lot of anger. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about anger. I think it's an emotion that's coming up most or more frequently than other times in our household. When it comes to emotions, which is my jam, love them, explaining them, strategies to overcome them, processing them, I feel it's really important when we develop social emotional learning programs, curriculums, workshops, social skill programs, emotional intelligence trainings, it's to not bunch everything up, but to separate stuff. So today, all I want to focus on is the bucket of anger. Because we feel a lot of anger, we're going through a lot of different stuff, and it's something that I think if we explore, we can help our children process it so that they don't escalate. So here's the thing. When it comes to anger, I want you to think about a spectrum. When I train about anger management and managing emotions, I really divide up each emotion in a certain section, or I like to call buckets. So let's take anger. So now I want you to think about, how do you define anger? What does anger mean to you? How does it feel in your body? What happens when you're angry, and what are your thoughts? So simple method, if you can imagine a model, imagine a triangle. So what are the thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that come up when you're angry? Well, you'll be like, well, angry is an emotion. Yeah, but there's always something else behind it, right? So let's explore that bucket. What can also be mixed up with anger, or a different emotion that, instead of just saying like, I'm angry, we could use other words. So you have annoyed, irritated, frustrated, resentful. You can say angry or mad, furious, or enraged. So I'm squinting because I actually have my curriculum on my computer. So I'm going through my curriculums that I teach and my PDs and in my school so that I can help you. So those are the different words. So here's what I recommend. Sit down with your family, sit down with your teens, or sit down with your young ones and define each of those emotions. So what does it mean to be irritated, annoyed, furious, enraged, frustrated? Because we need to define the terms so we're all on the same page. A word can have a slight different meaning for you, for me, and if we're not using it right, we cannot often help each other when we're escalating. Because if I'm feeling resentful or irritated, it's a lot different than when I'm furious. And there's different strategies that can help calm my body, calm my mind a lot faster if I define the right strategy to the right definition of feeling. So it might sound silly, but it's really helpful. And also, you will get to see how your children view the different emotions. And then where do they feel it on their body? What are they thinking when they're feeling those emotions? And you get to identify also some of the triggers, the behaviors that get them to that point. So for me, when I was doing my program, I really spent some time in middle school, and I knew there was a big difference between being irritated and annoyed. And you might think, well, they're the same thing. But for me, it was different because often my students would get irritated in middle school. They were so easily irritated. They get annoyed over everything, but they were irritated. Like, you touch them, like, you just, someone would cross each other in the hallway and like brush on each other, and it was like, there'd be blowouts, right? So they go from irritated to fury, enraged, right? And I was trying to figure out what's going on. So most of the time when my students would feel irritated, the emotion that was, so the emotion of irritation, the background of it was they were either tired or hungry. So when their basic needs aren't met, they would feel irritated. When they were well rested and not hungry, they were less irritated. They could get annoyed still, I mean, by someone saying something, or, sometimes there's teachers that would make them annoyed. Sometimes they'd be annoyed at me too. But they wouldn't be irritated by me. So really help understand your children how also, like, defining the emotion is important, but what is behind the emotion? When you're tired, are you easily irritated that normally things wouldn't bother you as much? I think that's really important. So to recap, 1, define the emotions, figure out how it feels, what you're thinking, and what you do when you feel those emotions, so you can get to like what's triggering you, what's bringing up this anger, or what's bringing up anything in the anger bucket. Once you identify this, then you move into strategies. So how I train is strength-based training, and that means like I really get to know my group, my person, my parent, my educator, my professional, and I find out what they're really good at. So what are their skills, their assets, their strengths? What do they bring to the table? Because the strategy needs to match who they are as a person. If not, it doesn't work. And that comes to understanding your children. So find out more about why strategies work and don't work in certain situations for your kids, and the why. And then you'll figure out too, you'll see the connection of, well, my child is more introverted and quiet, and this is why this works for them. Just to clarify, like, be like an asterisk. So there's no strength, so there's not a difference between introverted or extroverted. There's none that are better. They're just on a spectrum too of how you operate as an individual. So I don't want you to make any assumption that I'm saying introverted is a strength or extroverted is a strength. It's just two different types of people, but there's also social introverts, which are kind of in the middle. And that will be a whole video for something else. But to recap, so identify your child's strengths, but also the characteristics of your child to figure out if that strategy is best fitted for them. So for me, when my daughter is angry, so what she needs is immediately like pressure, a hug, right? A hug. And I need to verbally say, we need to calm our bodies, calm our minds, take a deep breath in. Take another deep breath in. So I grab her and I start speaking in a very calm tone, but direct enough, right? So she has the pressure, my calm, direct tone, and I'm modeling my behavior of deep breathing and walking her through it. And I'll say, we need to calm our bodies, we need to calm our mind, deep breath in. Then sometimes I add some humor. Well, I can't hear you breathe right now, you're not breathing. And I don't know why she thinks it's funny, but she starts laughing. So I break it up with some humor. But I really move in, and I know that that calms my daughter because she is more of a social introvert, and she really reacts well to touch, right? Like being cuddled. She feels like the safest in that environment. And also one of her strengths is imitating, like modeling behavior. So if I do it first, she's really quick at doing that. So that's what I mean when you're trying to identify the characteristics of your children and then the strengths of your child. So those are some strategies. Maybe for teenagers it works too. I haven't hugged too many students that were escalated at a school. I think there could be some issues with that. But for my kid it works. And then I would say that often too, modeling the behavior can help. Even though they're like, Mom, stop, you're annoying. It does help because they're seeing you do it. And we are, as humans, we often imitate each other. I don't know if you've ever noticed, if you're in a conversation, we often imitate the way that we're sitting or interacting, our tonalities. It's something like second nature for us. So modeling the behaviors are super important. Now I want to walk you through different strategies that may or may not work for you, but when you're in the bucket of anger, it's good to have a toolbox to kind of throw at you. And also why I'm talking about anger is I feel it every single day in any sort of form. From, frustrated to resentment, I've been through it. So I'm here for you, and I'm also doing this so I can remind myself, because I often forget in the moment of fury. Sometimes I forget to breathe. Sometimes I literally have to say, like, I am walking away because I am losing it. And sometimes I just lose it. So this is just ways to help you. There's no room for judgment. This is difficult. It sucks right now. And I know I'm having a hard time. I know my friends are struggling, so I just don't want us to think that we should be at a place where we've got this or things are under control. So if you're feeling anger, feel it, right? It's okay. If any of these tools help you calm yourself down or even de-escalate your kids, I think it's a win. It's a plus. Okay, so let's go through the strategies. Let me scroll through my 25-page curriculum. I love to write about emotions. Okay, hold on, here I come. Okay, so here are some strategies that we felt that were mostly helpful, and take what you need. So deep breathing. So I kind of explained to you what it is. Like, I bet. So I've learned through my research and meditation that there's a good way and a bad way to breathe. So what's important to remember is when we're inhaling, we're filling our lungs, our abdomen, or like I tell the kids, the belly with air. And when we exhale, we're bringing it back in. So start to notice when you get angry, sometimes it reverses itself. When you're breathing in, you're pulling in your stomach, your abdomen, and then when you're breathing out, you're expanding. That's an incorrect way to breathe, and it's not helpful when you're trying to calm yourself down. What happens though is when you think about how you're breathing when you're angry, it takes you out of your space of anger, and it shifts and it distracts you for a few seconds where it's easier to calm yourself down. When it comes to deep breathing, taking 1 to 3 deep breaths won't calm yourself down. You want to go big. You want to go at least 5, 10. Other techniques for breathing too is if you can inhale for 3, exhale for 4. I love to do that because I'm breathing out that stale air, that negative energy. If you want to use an intention, a mantra, or just a visual, so be like breathing in, right? So breathing in peace, exhaling anger. For your kids, you could be breathing in calm, exhaling frustration, anger, resentment, you name it. Or you can be specific on what makes them angry. So the visualization piece is critical. And I know you've noticed I close my eyes when I do the deep breathing. You want to reflect inward. Any of my activities that I do when it comes to emotional management, I do spend some time going inward. So there's the fact that you can give yourself a hug, right? Close your eyes. It takes you away from what is in front of you in that moment, and it makes you reflect inward on your breathing, inward on how you're feeling. And sometimes we need that because we're constantly reacting to everything around us. Okay, so deep breathing is really important. There's a ton of resources out there. I have specific links for the ones that I like for the different age groups, so reach out to me if you want those links, but you can always just type it into Google, and there's some great deep breathing meditation. I am not sponsored by Insight Timer because I talk about them all the time, but I love the app, and they have great breathing exercises for children, for teenagers, and then also for adults. So if you haven't gotten that app, highly recommend Insight Timer. Okay, next, taking a walk or walking away. So during quarantine, it's really important to figure out what can I do? So what I do, our apartment is, I'm very grateful. I love it. It's a very big apartment for us, but it's not huge by any means. So for us, walking into a different room when we're angry can be really helpful. But if you're in a small space and it's not an option, maybe walking down the hall right? Taking a walk, just change your scenery within your house. So for me, if I'm in the kitchen, I'm getting into an argument with my husband, I might just walk into the living room, right? Or walk into my bedroom and I shut the door. Right? I might take my dog for a walk. I might just be like, I'm gonna go outside. We started a garden. It's not like we're in the initial phase, but maybe in the future, like I'm just gonna go walk outside and check on the garden. So one, you're moving yourself into a different location, and then two, you're distracting yourself by something else so that you can kind of start letting go of the anger. Another one I love, my students adore, is listening to music, like jamming it out. Like put some headphones in, like really sing. Oh, I love when I'm angry to sing as loud as I can. No one else does like that, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so listening to music. Also playing video games. For me, it doesn't work. But I've known some of my students really, like when they want to get that anger out, they're on their gaming, right? So encourage whatever helps for your family. Talking it out. So here's what's important when talking it out. You do not want to talk it out with someone that's going to fuel the emotion and like stir it up. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where you've talked to a friend and you're really upset, but by the time you get off the phone, you're even more upset. I mean, because it's like it was fueling the drama that was going on, right? So you don't want something that's going to increase the drama and fuel the emotion. You want someone that's just going to have a sounding board, and no devil's advocate, please. No, like, well, let me share my perspective. No, sounding board, just listen. So you need to find someone that's just going to listen to you. As a parent, if they're going to talk it out, you just listen. You don't put your and, buts, and what. You listen. Okay, so then what we want to do is once we figure out who we can talk to, understanding what role we play when we're the person being the sounding board is really important. Crying it out. So I've asked a lot of my teens, and sometimes they say just like cry it out, let it all out, cry into a pillow. You know, that's really helpful for them when the anger is so high. Another one, which was a weird one for me, but I've asked my students and they love it, is taking a shower. Taking a cold shower, a hot shower, really relaxes them, and also it is changing the scenery and distracting them. It's been helpful. So taking a shower, I heard, was really good for anger. I should try it, I haven't. Taking a nap. The big components of naps, 20 minutes can reset you. So find if you're really like feeling a lot of resentment, frustration, you need to reset, meditation's not working, take a nap. It'll reset yourself. I also like this one. It's for younger kids. I usually have like squeezing and releasing the fists. So squeeze, release, and breathe. Squeeze, release, release. So the squeezing and release can be really helpful. Doing it when you're holding on to a chair too can be helpful. Those are some strategies if your children are more into movement, tactical, that helps. Okay. Exercising for 10 minutes. So just 10 minutes. I don't know, doing HIIT, high interval training. Sometimes I just watch what I say because I don't even know how to spell out those words, but the high interval training, right? Maybe box it out, run it out. Go up and down the stairs, right? Especially if you're in your high rise and you have the ability to do that, walking up and down those stairs can be really helpful. At one of my schools, that's what a kid would do when they get really angry. They'd walk up and down the stairs because it was really hard to stay angry because they'd be out of breath after the third or fourth flight. So finding some way to get the anger out. What you want to do is release it. For younger kids, you know, it could be them running around, right? Or sometimes just scribbling, their anger on a piece of paper, just get it all out. So that's really helpful. For teens, it could be journaling, drawing, right? Moving their bodies, dancing. Dancing's a great one too. You know, just dance it out. You know, what do they have, like dance fighting or fight dancing? That's a thing, right? So dance out your anger. So those are other ideas. But again, you're thinking about, let's get that emotion out of our bodies. So what are ways we can do that? So that's the more active ones. Okay. So we talked about scribbling, journaling, but sometimes just writing on a piece of paper what's going on and how like that's impacting you, and then putting in the ball, tossing it, ripping it up is great. It's an emotional release. I got it out of mind, out of sight, and away. Last but not least, another strategy that is super helpful is watching funny videos. So, adding humor. Sometimes laughing about it, but like a good belly laugh, like solid, like funny, like you can't stop laughing, can release a lot of anger. I always tell my students, it's really hard to be angry and laugh at the same time because there's a release that happens. So those are some simple ideas. Doesn't cost you a thing. We have those in our toolbox already. I'm just bringing them to the front so that we can pay more attention to what we can do. So if you're also thinking like, I don't know about like funny videos, animal videos, they make me laugh a ton. They make my family laugh. So find your jam as far as what makes you laugh and that humor so you can release it. Okay, folks, that's all for us today. So to recap, identify and define the different emotions. What do they mean? How do they feel in your body? What do you do when you feel those emotions? And then find the strategy that would work for you. By learning more about yourself, your strengths, your characteristics, and then once you find that, having that at the front of the mind can really help you. Like, I'm about to walk away right now, or I'm gonna go take a walk. I'm gonna jam out my music because I'm feeling anger. So if you have any questions, just please reach out to me. I am here for you. And then if not, then I will see you tomorrow. So if you like this video, click the like button below and subscribe. Yay! Thanks everyone. Bye.